Everybody knows this song.
Diamond in the back, sunroof top, diggin the.
This is the song Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield. It's so smooth. Come on, this is a classic. I love Curtis Mayfield. Except, brace yourself. This song doesn't exist, and Curtis Mayfield never recorded it. Let me say that again. Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield does not exist, and Curtis Mayfield did not record, write, produce, cover, or have anything to do with this song. Today, we're going down a rabbit hole. How is this possible? If Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield doesn't exist, what song is this, and who is that singing? How did this happen? And as we find answers, we just might find more questions. This story has 3 parts: what the problem is, how we got here, and the story of this video. When I first started diving into this mystery, I thought this was an example of the Mandela effect. That's the internet phenomenon of a large group of people remembering something that never happened. It's called the Mandela effect after Nelson Mandela, who, after he passed away in 2013, saw a lot of people confused because they thought he died in prison in the 80s. Other classic examples of these collective false memories include the Monopoly guy. Quick, does he have a monocle or not? If you're like me, you remember him having a monocle, but apparently he never has. Okay, last one. You know that children's book about the family of bears? Are they the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears? I distinctly remember them being the Berenstain Bears, but apparently the name of the bears and the authors is and has always been Berenstain. So going back to Diamond in the Back, how is it that so many people hear this song and think of the wrong name and artist? I found 3 main reasons for this, and they kind of build on each other. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. First, let's talk about what this song actually is. The song is not called Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield. It's Be Thankful for What You Got, and it's by an artist named William Devaughn. This album was released in 1974, and the single Be Thankful for What You Got was a huge hit. It reached number 1 on the Billboard R&B charts and number 4 on the Hot 100. This song was originally called A Cadillac Don't Come Easy, but was renamed to Be Thankful for What You Got. This song would go on to sell over 1 million copies, but just as impressive as the stats is the musicians involved. This album features musicians from the MFSB group, a collective of studio musicians based in Philadelphia who worked with Gamble and Huff to record music for the OJs, the Spinners, Wilson Pickett, and more. MFSB even recorded the song TSOP. I know it's a lot of acronyms, but that was the theme song for Soul Train. These are some of the musicians you hear on William Devaughn's album. Norman Harris on guitar, Earl Young on drums, Rusty Jackman on bass, who also has the coolest name I've ever heard. Not to mention Vince Montana on vibraphone. Actually, that's maybe even a cooler name, because while there's a little vibraphone on the radio edit, which is the only version on streaming now, the album version has an extended instrumental section with some killer vibraphone on it. It tops out at over 7 minutes. This whole album is really, really great. The musicians on it are top-notch. William Devaughn's voice is great. Be Thankful for What You Got is a great song, and it was a huge hit. So how did we go from that to the Mandela effect? A ton of people think this is Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield. The year was 1972. It was the summer of love, and the country was in the midst of a social and political upheaval. Mayfield was inspired by the Black Power movement and the civil rights struggle to create an anthem for a new generation. Diamond in the Back became a rallying cry for the Black community and a symbol of hope and pride. This article, if you can call it that, is one of the worst offenders. It's just flat out wrong. The Summer of Love was 1967, and again, it's not called Diamond in the Back, and Curtis Mayfield, well, this article describes him as American rapper and singer-songwriter Curtis Mayfield. Alright, this is a garbage website just trying to get Google ad clicks. It was either written by someone who didn't do their research or didn't check their sources. Let's stick to real people. Here's a reaction channel on YouTube reacting to this song.
Y'all heard my Curtis Mayfield, Diamond in the Back. Let's check it out.
it's one of those songs that kind of lets you kind of go within yourself, and you kind of get to relax and chill and take this ride. And the ride of Curtis Mayfield's voice is a ride that I want to be.
It is. And I like it when he gets to the part of
I like when he switches his cadence, and then when he just gives us just the little oohs that he gives are so perfect.
Their commentary is accurate, but the song credits are not. I too like taking a ride with Curtis Mayfield's voice, but this girl has no idea she's on a completely different ride right now. They actually labeled this song Diamonds in the back, but this is just a random YouTube channel, two people sitting in a room listening to music. Surely there's not an example of a well-respected musical institution falling prey to the Mandela effect and getting these song credits wrong, is there?
All right, enough of this love stuff. Let's have some fun.
Even the Kennedy Center thinks this song is Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield. So how did we get here? Well, I found 3 things responsible for this, and they all build on each other. First and simplest, after the release of this album in 1974, Be Thankful for What You Got was a huge hit, and there were a couple other minor singles on this album, and then William Devaughn lost interest in the music business and stopped making music. The very next year, 1975, Parliament released The Mothership Connection, and on the song P-Funk Wants to Get Funked Up, they reference William Devaugh's song by saying, "So you can feel cool, gangsta lean, y'all should dig my sunroof top." But this was just the beginning. The lyrics of this song have been quoted or interpolated in so many songs. It's become part of American culture. NWA, De La Soul, Outkast, The Tribe Called Quest have all quoted, interpolated, or directly sampled Be Thankful for What You Got. Ludacris released a song in 2003 that samples it, titled Diamond in the Back. This is the most memorable lyric from this song, so it makes sense why you might think that's the title. There are hundreds more covers, interpolations, and samples out there, none of which, though, are Curtis Mayfield. Now, to be fair, William Devaughn did end up releasing more music. First in 1980 with the album Figures Can't Calculate, and then not again until into the 2000s. But at that point, I think the damage was done. Of course, it's impossible for me to know whether or not most people in 1985 thought this was Curtis Mayfield. But by leaving the music industry, William Devaughn appears to have created a massive hit with nothing else for fans to chew on, leaving a bit of a vacuum. So it might be easier to misremember this song as being Curtis Mayfield, who had many more hits and albums, and was popular around the same time. But there's another factor at play here. The second element was an event akin to everyone's record collections all spilling together and leaving a big mess to clean up. I'm of course talking about the dawn of the internet and the file sharing services like Napster and LimeWire. Do you remember these? You could download absolutely anything. Whether it was a good sounding file or correctly labeled was another question, but regardless, free music. Napster debuted in 1999, LimeWire in 2000, and there were a ton of other services like this. How it works is you're essentially sharing some of the files on your computer with the network, but there's no moderation, no one checking accuracy. So if I have a song on my computer called Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield, and you download it, you're gonna think that's the song, and there's no one to tell you otherwise. And at this point, Be Thankful for What You Got was 25 years old enough that no one would really remember well enough. What was the name of that song with the guy, and the hit song was like Diamond in the Back? Oh, I think it's Curtis Mayfield. Oh, here's the song on LimeWire. Add to that Curtis Mayfield passed away in 1999, so people are seeking his music out, and they find Diamond in the Back and assume it's legit. On top of all of this, just a year before in 1998, the third element at play was born into the world, a company called Google. This would go on to solidify the Mandela effect for this song by reinforcing people's misunderstanding. Google is responsible for some of this because of things like Google Autocomplete, which will suggest searches based on what other people commonly search, showing articles like the trash I showed you a minute ago, or in 2006, Google bought another small little company called YouTube. There are many falsely attributed videos on YouTube that are just the song and a picture of Curtis Mayfield. This video is the oldest example I could find of this kind of thing, which was published in 2009. This was the last video this channel published and has apparently been abandoned. And while yes, if you click to see the tagged song or scroll down to the comments, William Devaughn is mentioned. But this video has over 500,000 views, and most of those viewers probably didn't read these comments. Here's another one from 2011 that even has the audacity to show the album cover for Curtis, which implies that this song can be found on that album. But this video has over 60 million views, and it has the comments turned off. These are the kinds of things that reinforce this song as being Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield. That reaction video we looked at earlier used one of these videos as their source for their reaction video. So if Google sees a bunch of songs listed as Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield, articles written about it, and people are searching for Diamond in the Back Curtis Mayfield, they're gonna return these results with no corrections. There are people online insisting this is William Devaughn, but that gets lost in a sea of inaccuracy. If the majority of people think it's one thing, and people are searching for that thing, Google is going to show you what you're looking for. And looking to the future, what's beyond Google? ChatGPT, which is trained on things like Google, and is happy to tell me all about the song Diamond in the Back by Curtis Mayfield, including an alternate and also false backstory to this song, even though, again, this song does not exist. Over this song's 50-year history, the miscrediting has gotten worse and will continue to get worse as people rely more and more on AI, which is built on the internet, which, as we saw, already has accuracy problems. And now we get to the story of this video, which has a different ending than I'd hoped. I've been working on this video for 6 months. It started when I got an Instagram DM from someone who had just discovered this Curtis Mayfield Mandela effect, and I started down the rabbit hole. And I knew there was only one way to end this video, by interviewing William Devaughn, if he's still alive. Mr. Devaughn doesn't have much of an online presence, which isn't surprising considering he's in his 70s. Or allegedly in his 70s. I mean, Google says he's 76, but Google also says this song is Curtis Mayfield, so I'm not trusting it. He doesn't have a website or an Instagram, and his Facebook page has just over 200 followers, though no one replied to my comments or messages. I enlisted the help of Alex Goldman, one of the former hosts of the podcast Reply All. He managed to dig up this Facebook post from 2015 promoting a radio interview with William Devaughn. I emailed both the interviewer, Diana Williams, as well as Bocage Music, the company posting this to Facebook. Diana replied that she had never actually met William Devaughn and had no way of contacting him. I found this strange because she had supposedly interviewed him. I mean, maybe it was a phone interview and that's all she means, but it sort of sounds like the Mandela effect is at work here too, and she's saying she never even talked with him. The next day, on September 28th, I received an email back from Bocage Music, specifically Dr. Louis Anthony DeLeese, who also arranged, conducted, and produced William's second album, Figures Can't Calculate. Dr. DeLeese said he'd forward my email along to Mr. Devaughn. Well, after a couple months of silence and a few more reminder email nudges, he eventually CC'd me on an email directly to William Devaughn. On January 4th, after 4 months of trying to get in contact with him, I was finally emailing William Devaughn. And a few days later, he replied, thanking me for contacting him and saying he'll contact me again soon. But, okay. It kind of felt like hiking up a mountain to meet someone at their house at the top. You're not even sure that the house is there or that they're home, but you finally get there, exhausted. You pound on the door, and they open it and say, I'm gonna close this again, I'll open it in a little bit. And to his credit, after I emailed him a couple more times, he replied again, asking for an outline of the video, agreeing to do a video interview for it, and thanking me for tracking him down. That was in the middle of January, and after sending the outline and 3 more reminder emails over the following weeks, I never heard back from William Devaughn again. So, what happened? I know, you're thinking what I was thinking at first, but there's no public obituary for him. Plus, I'm looking it up with Google, which would probably just return an obituary for Curtis Mayfield and call it a day. Seriously though, someone recently sent me my own online obituary with pictures of me, referencing Digging the Greats and everything. It's a mess out there. I promise, I'm not dead. Never thought I'd have to say that. Did William Devaughn change his mind? Has he not checked his email in a long time? Or does he kind of enjoy all of this? Maybe he enjoys the confusion. For instance, on Spotify, you can't find this album, Be Thankful for What You Got, but you can find a different album called Be Thankful for What You Got, which is actually the album Figures Can't Calculate. But the album cover says, we gotta zoom in for this, be thankful for what you've got. Not you, you've. Maybe he enjoys the anonymity. The fact that he gave a gift to the world and most people don't know who he is. Maybe he enjoys laying low. The most recent interview I found from him was the Washington Post from 1998, which is over 25 years ago. But I also found that with Google, so who knows how accurate that is. That's not counting the radio interview from 2015 where the interviewer told me she'd never met him. Or maybe I'm so far down the rabbit hole I'm Mandela affecting myself. Maybe he enjoys all of this too. Or maybe he stopped replying because his email account also thinks he's Curtis Mayfield. Speaking of Curtis Mayfield, the actual Curtis Mayfield, you know the song Move On Up? Where's the downbeat on that song? Where's the first beat? That seems like a very simple question, but that sent me down another rabbit hole, and I was shocked to find that not everyone agrees on this. But to get into that investigation, you gotta click here.